Imagine being a leader of an army of warriors and then realizing that hundreds of thousands of your soldiers died in one battle. Today, the war in Ukraine has undoubtedly been a disaster in the loss of lives of men, women, and children. But the losses sustained in that battle are nowhere near the number of losses sustained by armies in other battles during the 20th century. Welcome to Facts Fanatics. We are dedicated to bringing you shocking and jaw-dropping true stories in history. Today, we will look at 5 of the bloodiest battles of the 20th century and the catastrophic toll they took on humanity. And by the way, while battles have taken place all over the world during the 20th century, it is interesting to note that all of these devastating battles took place in Europe and Russia. Let's get into it. Battle of Stalingrad. The battle took place on the outskirts of Volgograd, formerly known as Stalingrad. The city of Stalingrad was important to Russia for both symbolic and strategic reasons. The city bore the name of its leader, Joseph Stalin, and served as a key point in the defense against the German advance during World War II. The Battle of Stalingrad is considered by many as one of the bloodiest battles in history and was a major turning point in World War II. The battle started in August of 1942 and lasted until February 1943 through the bitter Russian winter. The German army was surprised by its strong resistance from the Red Army troops during the German attack to capture Stalingrad. As a result, the German army had to withdraw vast amounts of soldiers away from other battlefronts in Europe towards reinforcing its forces in Stalingrad. The suffering caused due to this battle alone exceeded anything else seen thus far. 850,000 German soldiers and over 1 million Russian soldiers perished in that battle. This didn't include any of the massive civilian deaths. In Stalingrad, the soldiers' life expectancy was 24 hours. This meant that every day, young men were thrust into a battle where they were likely to die. Families were torn apart, and the city was left in ruins. The Soviet soldiers had to cross the Volga River in order to reinforce their position. However, many of them died during the crossing. Battle of Somme. At the start of the Battle of Somme, British artillery rained down on German lines for 7 days prior, unleashing a staggering 1.7 billion shells and bombs. Despite this tremendous firepower and belief from top brass that nothing could possibly be alive after such an assault, British soldiers were ordered to advance at a walking pace toward the enemy lines that had been obliterated by the heavy shelling. They were so confident in the artillery barrage that some soldiers even chose to kick footballs as they went over the top of their trenches into no man's land, unaware of the carnage that awaited them beyond the trenches. Sadly, their overconfidence proved tragically misguided and contributed to one of the bloodiest battles of World War I. The Battle of Somme was a massive conflict that took place near Paris in France. Over 3 million soldiers fought in that battle. An explosion on the first day was the largest possible explosion and sound to date in history. The sound was so loud that it could be heard for miles. People were startled by the sound and felt the ground shaking. British engineers had tunneled miles underneath German lines, packing explosives into those mines. And the mines were detonated on the morning of the first day of battle. The fighting lasted from July to November 1918 and resulted in more than 1 million deaths on both sides. The French Empire losses stood at around 400,000, while those from German imperial forces came out slightly higher at 485,000 soldiers killed or wounded, plus an estimated another 150,000 missing persons who were either conscripts or volunteers looking for a steady paycheck. By the end of the campaign, the Allies seized only a small slice of land from German possession, only 20 miles wide and 6 miles long, at the staggering cost of about 50,000 men per mile. Operation Bagration. The price of victory in World War II was extreme for the Soviet Union. The Russians paid a heavy toll to achieve their objectives. Operation Bagration was the codename of the Soviet strategic offensive operation to clear German forces from eastern Poland during World War II. The Soviet Red Army was determined to turn the tide in World War II by inflicting a devastating defeat on the invading German army. The Red Army was well aware of how disastrously Operation Barbarossa, the attack by the Germans on the Soviet Union, had unfolded for the Soviets, with millions of soldiers and civilians killed in just a few short months, including during the Battle of Stalingrad. The Soviets thus intended to take advantage of this situation by quickly marshalling their forces and luring the Germans into a deadly ambush at an early stage in the offensive. Through bold strategy and relentless preparation, the Red Army would conduct one major battle after another, relentlessly wearing down the German forces until they were decisively crushed. It resulted in 28 out of 38 German divisions being destroyed, with over 350,000 men killed or wounded on the German side alone. The Red Army suffered more than any other force in this battle, losing over 180,000 dead or missing and 590,000 men badly hurt. They managed to liberate large areas of Russian territory from German control while destroying the German army group and inflicting severe losses. Battle of KOLUBARA. The Battle of KOLUBARA in 1914 was one of the bloodiest and most devastating military engagements in history to date. In November of that year, a large army of Austrian-Hungarian forces of 450,000 men launched a major invasion into the territory of modern-day Serbia. In Vienna and Sarajevo, the leaders of the two countries were already planning how to divide the spoils of war even before the battle had begun. Initially, it appeared the Austrian forces would overwhelm the Serbian army. However, despite having vastly superior numbers and more sophisticated weaponry, the Austrian-Hungarian troops were completely routed by a smaller Serbian army of 250,000. The battle proved to be a massive blow for Austria-Hungary, resulting in 225,000 Austria-Hungarian casualties and 133,000 Serbian casualties. Despite its traumatic results, this pivotal conflict ultimately paved the way for Serbia's liberation and laid the foundations for its future successes as an independent nation. In fact, not unlike the Ukrainian War of 2022, the Serbs were predicted to collapse, but instead went on to counterattack, inflicting significant losses on the enemy. Today, the Battle of KOLUBARA is remembered as an important event in Serbian history and serves as a source of inspiration to subsequent generations. Battle of France. The Battle of France, or also known as the Fall of France, was a military campaign in World War II that lasted from June 10, 1940 to September 25, 1945. The battle involved German invading and occupation forces against the British and French army units on invaded French soil along with Holland, Belgium and Luxembourg. It is considered one of the most memorable yet also most disastrous Allied battles where highly disciplined soldiers played incredible courage under fire despite facing overwhelming odds. The battle ended with the Dunkirk evacuation, where the French and British troops held a small swath of territory around Dunkirk, while the remainder of the Allied forces were evacuated by boats, small and large. Altogether, 360,000 Allied soldiers laid down their lives in what was known as one of the first and most bitter battles of the European front during World War II. The Germans also suffered staggering losses, with over 160,000 casualties. Thank you for watching, and we hope that you enjoyed learning some well-known and little-known facts about the bloodiest battles in the 20th century. Please like and subscribe to help us make sure that we can bring you more content in the future. See you next time!